Welcome to Hope Talks Podcast, Conversations for Special Needs Families, where we share information and resources that give families hope, not just today, but also for the future. And today we are going to be talking about a subject that so many families worry and stress and think about, and that is college. If you have a neurodivergent young person in your life, there's a lot of questions you're probably asking, like, will they still have a 504? Will they have an IEP? How do I get accommodations? We're going to talk about that today, and I've got some experts with me. I'm Julie Cadman. I'm with Healing Complex Kids, the co-founder of Healing Complex Kids, as well as the co-author of the Pathway to Hope Resource Guide for Special Needs. And today the experts I have are Shane and Ruth, and they are from the Neurodivergent Alliance. Did I say it right?
Neurodivergent Student Alliance.
See, got it right. Neurodivergent Student Alliance from Oakland Community College.
Yes.
So we've been laughing and having a really good time, and you know my first question, and that is, just tell me, when you're getting ready for exams, do you have a comfort food or something that you eat?
Yes, on the healthy side, I tend to lean towards desserts, anything fruit related, like banana pudding, cherry pie. And on the healthy side, dried fruits, nuts, and like veggie chips.
You said things that are portable, right?
Yes.
What about you, Shane?
Yeah, my actual go-to food would have to be like a tropical smoothie or something that would give me like a good boost of natural energy without turning to the caffeine because of how sensitive I am to this stuff.
You guys are so healthy. I told you, spoiler alert, I still have the same bad habit I had in college, but I had to do all-nighters, and it's Mountain Dew, regular or diet, so still, yeah. So let's start talking about college, because you two are experts on what you can tell people and what to expect. Can you remember back to your very first week of college? I'll start with Shane. One word, what would describe that first week of college?
One thing that just led to the back of my head was something that my principal said to all of us in the graduation stand, saying, one of the things I wish for you to do is I wish for you to fail. And that just caused me and my dad just looking at each other after going like, that sounds a little bit morbid, don't you think? So had a good laugh at it. But then as soon as 2020 hits the corner and COVID like shut everything down, it actually kind of like caused me to have a bit of a reset into everything, like what I wanted to do, what I wished to accomplish, et cetera, et cetera. So by the time that I heard about the Reconnect Scholarship was introduced, I spoke about it with one of the counselors at OCC. The first time around didn't go as well, and now seeing these new batch of like new college students coming in, I'm just like, so this is going to be like, how am I going to be able to guide through these college students that's going through the same type of jitters and fears? And I was like, well, I have the experience.
Well, and you're going to be able to answer a lot of questions and help some of the people listening so they can get rid of some of those jitters as well. Now, I want to ask you the same question, Ruth Ann. If you could go back to your first day of college, can you think of one word or just a really quick, what was it feeling like?
Chaotic.
It's a good word.
I waited to go into college. I didn't immediately jump into it like all my other peers did after high school, because I wanted to figure more about myself out. Mm. And when I did, it was the winter semester. My first semester, and everything blew up on the first day. But I got myself back together eventually, and I'm still here at Oakland Community College.
And I'm really proud of you. Tell us what you're doing now, because you said you've changed your major.
I have changed my major. So when I first started out, I was originally going to be a paralegal in law. However, throughout the time, I decided to try out other things, eventually landed on HVAC refrigeration with general studies attached to it.
Well, and what I love is when we were talking about this, because both of you have volunteered for some of our events, and that's how I've gotten to know you over the last few years, and you were at our first one. But you were telling me how you tell other students, start at the community college. You're going to save money. You're going to get the same instruction, right, for what you're doing.
You will be, yes.
It's wonderful. So really good news. Okay.
Yeah. So
Tell me the name of your group, and I'll start with Ruth Ann because I don't want to get it wrong. And just like a little bit about yourself, like how you got involved in the group.
So our group's name is the Neurodivergent Student Alliance of Oakland Community College. How I got involved in the group was when I saw a little advertisement for it on the website when I was first starting off, and I wanted to find a sort of sense of community, hence the name Community and Community College, because you do succeed if you have a community in the community college sense, positive one at that. And when I joined in, I was immediately welcomed in. It was warm and all that. And it was just starting off because it was just a little baby, something new. And eventually I decided to join. And so I became the treasurer and then worked my way up all the way to become the president emeritus that I am right now at the moment.
You are the president right now. Well, good.
Well, emeritus, which is a little bit above the president, which he is at the moment. But
what does emeritus mean?
It's kind of like an advisory role to help out the current president.
Oh, so you were the past president. Okay, so she's got all the knowledge.
Yep, exactly.
Is she helpful?
Very, very helpful.
I know she is.
Yeah.
So Shane, how did you get involved in the Neurodivergent Student Alliance? Did I say it right?
Yes, absolutely.
They've been teasing me because I have not been getting it right.
Well, last summer I was going through, because I started in the winter of 2025 in the mental health and the pre-mental health and social work program, and I received an email from my financial aid offices saying that my SAP, because I've been going since high school, so 2018, 2019. So, of course, it's getting to the point where I'm starting to max out my credit hours for being eligible for student aid. So I decided, you know what, I might as well just go speak to some of the people at financial aid. That's where I met our advisor, and that's where she introduced me to the club.
Let's start with Ruth Ann. What did you think college would be like when you started?
I thought it would be like how my family members described it for them back then, but that was then, and this is now, where we do have access to a lot more accommodations and people willing to help.
Okay.
Not only that, but my family members were also in different, degrees, such as my mother being in nursing.
Mm-hmm. So you had certain expectations, and then you get there and it's completely different.
It's a lot more relaxed at the community college level.
Okay. And what about you? Did you have different expectations?
I would say that because I went through a couple of different programs at OCC, it would be kind of like I have like a set limit on when exactly I can be at that certain type of school before I should move on to different things. Although high school is mandatory, college is voluntary, but the thing about it is the mandatory to voluntary shift into my educational career, and seeing how I'm getting myself back into my educational career is definitely like a huge adjustment into what I learned before what I learned before about college compared to
what do you know now?
What I know now, yeah.
I want to talk about accommodations. And I've shared with both of you that I've known people who have hidden their disability and it's come back to bite them. What would you say to somebody who is thinking, well, I don't need accommodations? How would you advise them to go forward?
Gently, because we still live in a world where people are shamed or made to fear their disability. I had to update my accommodations when my IP expired, which is a little bit hard at first, but once I was able to get the paperwork and the evaluation done and everything, it was all smooth sailing from there on. And there's no shame in having to get reevaluated, and there's no shame in getting evaluated. Mm-hmm. You know, because I've met people who were ashamed of their disabilities, afraid of their disabilities, or who, you know, they had the disability, but they didn't think they needed to get an evaluation, even though you do need to have that paper, mm-hmm. the evaluation, in order to get access to accommodations.
That's one of the things that we were talking about. If you don't have the paper that gives you the accommodation, you don't think you need it, and then suddenly you need it, it can take quite a while to get that accommodation in place. I mean, do you know anyone that has gone through that?
Personally, no, I have not.
Okay.
For me, is more like I had to learn the hard way in order to understand that we shouldn't go through this alone. It kind of reminds me of when I was trying to figure out my internship for the summer, but I had to postpone that to the winter. But it was all based upon that one email that I got from one of my instructors saying that no one goes through this stuff alone. And upon years and years of like hypervigilance upon my own doing, like you said, I can understand how it could catch up with me and bite me in the rear. But the thing about it is that going back to what my high school principal says as learning how to fail, I do realize that through my own failures, I can learn how to readjust, redo, as well as readapt to what this present day community is compared to the last community that I had to leave behind when I first started college.
So, Shane, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
What was one thing that was easier than you expected it was going to be when you started college?
One thing that I realized when I started talking to new people again is the more, I wouldn't say vulnerable, but the more like slowed down and the more that I'm able to construct in order to construct what I say in order to progress through any type of project or any type of brainstorming session that we have.
And what's been the hardest thing?
I would say just time management. I feel that trying to change the past routine that I was once comfortable with before and trying a brand new routine now is definitely something that at first felt like trial and error, but now just feeling like, okay, what needs to be adjusted? What needs to be adjusted if it doesn't feel right?
I think you said something important. You had an old routine. You've gone through a lot of changes, and now you're at the point where this is what you're doing. You have learned to make changes so that you can be more successful towards the goals that you have. I think that's huge. So now I'm going to go over to you. Same question. What did you find that was easier than maybe you expected when you started college?
Finding community and being able to prepare myself for the classes and gaining my accommodations. All that I thought at first was going to be hard, but it turned out to be one of the easiest things. The hard part, believe it or not, was actually having to deal with technological problems to the point where I remember the student IT department's phone number by heart.
Oh, no. Oh. Call Ruth Ann if you've got a tech problem. She's been there, right?
Yeah.
Technology is our best friend or our worst nightmare, right? So many parents and young adults that will be listening to this are already thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to get accommodations? How far in advance should you start getting your accommodations? Like, say if you're starting in August, how far in advance should we be talking to the disability services?
As soon as possible, I would call them and send them an email as well to just see, because each school is a little bit different with how they go about their accommodations and all that. So I would phone call, email, try and see on their website in advance before your kid graduates high school, or if your kid's taking a break before the next semester starts.
I think you said something important before they graduate high school. You want to get ahead.
Yes.
So not only do it in advance, but they're also going to have a checklist of information they're going to need, and you may need to go to the doctor, you may need to get a new diagnosis. There's a lot that may be happening. Every college is different.
Yes, and that's also the same if your child is wanting to do dual enrollment studies.
Yes, we've talked about that. Anything you want to add to getting ready for it to help families that are listening to this?
Just a personal story, because you were talking about how there's a checklist that can be involved with trying to figure out what to do in order to get yourself prepared for community college. I remember that earlier this year, I volunteered to help with this OCC tour event for some students in the IEP program in Troy. And one thing I remembered is there was this one high school kid who was talking to his one advisor. And one thing I remember him saying over and over again is like, I don't think I'm ready for this. I don't know what to do yet. It sounds like that there is a structure. It sounds like that there is a bit of a technique in order to do OCC. There isn't. It's basically based upon what your personal needs are, what your standards are. And one of the best things that I have learned about OCC when I returned there is the accessibility of going to the access offices in our campuses, trying to get a hold of the advisors through them to see how you can make your disability to your advantage. Because that's definitely something that, like we said before, where if you decide to mask your disability and decide to act like how people would think you would act, it's definitely going to catch up to you later down the line.
It's really good advice. So disclose, but disclose appropriately.
Exactly.
For parents listening, I hope you take away not just the information, but also the encouragement that you are not alone in this. To take the next step, grab your copy of Pathway to Hope Resource Guide for Special Needs on Amazon. It's a roadmap filled with strategies, tools, and encouragement to help your family thrive. And for a personalized roadmap, check out the Hope Recovery Map on our Healing Complex Kids resource page. It guides families step by step with tailored tools and resources. And don't forget to follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, where we share more tips, stories, and updates to support you every step of the way. If you found today's episode helpful, please share it with another family who could use some hope. Together, we can make sure no family feels alone in teaching this important information. Thank you so much for joining us today. Remember, progress may be slow, but every step forward matters. And no matter where you are in the journey, there is help, there is support, and there is hope.